All right, well, we are going to start our M&M's graph for day 4, so week 2, day 4. And I'm going to go ahead and put my information for my M&M's up here. I did notice on the other day when I did my M&M's graph that I wrote the right number here, but then I wrote 19 over here, and it all made sense to me when I tried to add up to my percentages to see how close I was to 100%, and I was way off because this number wasn't right. So just check your math and make sure you're adding this up. So I just went and added my percentages. I had 7%, 10%, 14, 19, 19, and 29. So I have 98%. So, and that's going to happen. It's not going to get exactly to 100 because I didn't round up or down to help this play out right. So I'm close. I'm going to take my data. It says for the graph, you're going to take this information up here. And I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so maybe we can get a little bit more in there. And then I'm going to put this information about my colors on my bar graph. And then I'll color it in. So the very first thing it says is what colors, amount of each color. So here I'm going to do orange, my red, my green, my brown, yellow, and blue. And you don't have to, but I ended up going in number order. So I'm using my colored pencils for this. If you don't have your colored pencils, you can just shade up. But I've been checking with materials for families. If you need something, let me know. We can get it to you. All right, so orange, I have a total of 4 orange. Plus it just looks so much easier to read when you use colors and not everything's all gray. Next, I have red. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I actually liked figuring. I had a couple more questions about my math as I was doing it. Next color is green. The question that I was thinking of, how many greens? 8. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I was actually thinking about, you know, I mentioned the movie theater ones, how much candy's in there and how much does each of those cost? Well, today I went to the store and I was at Fred Meyer's and they had some candy on sale. And the boxes of candy that they had on sale had 200 grams for $1. So then I started thinking, I wonder how cheap that is per piece. If it was actually cheaper to buy that than buy in bulk. So I did buy some of that. We'll have to do a little bit of math for next week, figure out which one's actually cheaper. Brown, we have a total of 11. Brown. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11. And I'm using a light brown. But anyway, so I thought about that when I was in town today. But it kind of doesn't really look like brown. I wouldn't really be concerned, except for it looks more like an orange. Yellowy. That's more like a brown. But anyway, so I was looking at the candy prices and it made me wonder if it was a better deal. Yellow has a total of 11 also, which makes it super easy. I didn't even count that out. Super cake. Oh my gosh, I was telling Emma though, when I was visiting with her, that I found some Nerds that were on sale, the big jumbo boxes. Could you imagine if I had you count all those out? That would be awesome. Kind of torturous, but funny. I might do it. I'm not quite sure. I'm debating on how mean I really am. And then blue, we had a total of 17 blue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Holy smokes! I maxed that one out. So anyway, but I did come up with some ideas about doing Nerds math. which had to do with fractions. And so we will definitely be doing it, but I'm telling you what, getting you to count some of all those nerds would be crazy. It's a huge box. All right. And I kept my colors over to the side so I can use them for my pie chart. Now, we're going to do range. Range is big minus little, so the biggest one we have is 17. And the smallest one we have is 4. 17 minus 4 is 13. So our range is 13. That's the distance from this number to that number. It's also kind of like the absolute value. When you think about it, the distance between, well, not necessarily between 0, but between those, which is range. Median, the one that's in the middle. So it says when you're doing them, it's cross off a high and a low. So if we did that, my median, I have 4, 6, 8. I'm using my numbers that I wrote over here. 11, 11, and 17. So I have 2 numbers in the middle. I have 8 and 11. And really, if you wanted to, you could add those up and divide it. But I'm just going to have you guys, for right now, circle those 2 numbers because they are in the middle. The mode, the number that shows up the most. This one we actually had. I had a repeat. You might not have had a repeat. I had 2 11s, so 11 shows up the most. Average. That means all of those added together, which would be the total of M&Ms we had, which was 57 for me. And then divide it by how many there are. There are 6 colors, but how many colors are there? So our range, when you divide it and you put it in your calculator, 57 divided by 6, 9.5. And just really quick, I'm going to show you, some kids use long division, which is fine, and I just wanted to show you, if you did that, the 57 goes inside, because that's the numerator, inside. 6 goes into 57, and I want to show you this. 6 goes into 57 9 times for 54. And here's the part I wanted to show you. When we're doing fractions, when you divide, this is actually how you come up with your fraction. How many parts make a whole? 6 are going to make that. So we have 6 over here. And how much is left? 57 take away 54 is 3. 9 and 3 sixths, which is the same as 9.5. If you were to continue, if you wanted to do the long division, 6 goes into 57 9 times for 54. Means you have 3. And here's what happens. There's a 3 left if you don't want to use fraction remainders. You add a decimal, add your 0. Make sure you bring your decimal up. You don't need to bring your decimal down, but bring it up for right there. And then you ask how many times, and then bring down your 0. Can 6 go into 30? Yep, 5 times. And do we have an outlier, one that doesn't really fit? I'm going to say that our outlier that is on the outside is definitely blue. I mean, that's 6 on the other side. Most of these are like 1 to 3 difference. I'm going to say blue with 17. That's quite a ways out there. Now I need to turn these colors and these numbers into my percentages. So this is 100%. If I color this whole thing one color, it's 100% one color. Now I need to take the numbers that I have, which would be my percentages that I got from my other day, right here. 7, 10, 14, 19, 14, 19, 19, 29. And I need to put those on this. And I'm going to just give you a rough estimate. So I'm going to write those numbers up here. 7%, 10%, 14%, 19%, 19%, and 29%. Now I need to fit up all of these on here. And I don't want it, I'm not going to have you guys do the protractor work until next week. But here I'm going to just split it right in half. So do we agree that this is 50-50, right? Yep, so half of it's split into half. I don't have anything that's close to a half. I have 29, and I'm going to say about 30%. So if this is 50%, and then I split this again, that's 25%. So I need to take a little bit. So if I looked at half of 25 is 12 and a half. So right now, this is 25 plus 12 and a half. I'm going to scoot just a little bit out of there and say that that's about 3%. And I'm going to call this good right here. So this space right here is my 29%. 29%. And this represents my blue. And then that means if this is about 30%, that means that what's left over here is about 20%, which would be about this 19. And I'm going to kind of eyeball again. I'll show you guys next week how to do the percentages. So I'm going to say this is 19%, and this is 19%, and this one of them's yellow and brown. One's yellow and one's brown. That means these three, 10, 14, and 7, have to fit in here. And that means if this is 20, that means this part's 30, just like over here. And if I'm thinking about 30, and it wants 14, I was thinking pretty close if we did half again, so this is 25, and we split the 25, that's 12 and half, and we just gave a little bit more for 14%. So this is going to be our 14%. That is green. And then I have 10%, and there's no way that could be equal. So I'm going to split this and say, if this is, what would be left would be, well, 10%. So if this is 25, 9%. And that one's going to be 10. So I'm just going to give it a hair over this way. And this one's going to be 10% red and 7% orange. And I'm going to take my amazing colors and color that in. You don't have to color in around the whole thing. Again, this is just for like ease of visibility. So if somebody were to look at this graph, I labeled it so you can see the percentages. I want the label on there. That's important because these aren't accurate. So you would, as far as the drawing part goes, we can work on that part later. It's actually really easy if you have the right tools. I just didn't send protractors home, so I don't feel like I could be pretty picky right now. Now, if my 14% is bigger than my 29%, I need to look at that. That's not right. So check your work. I hope you guys enjoyed your M&Ms or shared them with somebody who does enjoy them. And if you don't like chocolate or you don't like some of the things that we're using, maybe you can share them with a family member or let me know, Miss Faith, next time I'll just cut up some, I don't know, we've done it in class, I've never heard too many complaints. I don't know. This next week we're working with tropical Skittles, tropical flavored Skittles, and tropical flavored Starburst. You guys are going to not be making graphs, but you're going to be doing fractions. And I'm not going to lie, I loved coming up with the work for it because it made me really think about some of the things that we have fractions for. And it made me think that there's a lot more ways I should be creative when I'm in class. So anyway, Well, I hope you have your graph done, and I hope you had a good time with your math, and I will see you later. Take it easy. Have a good night.